Hey, Matt Wilson here. Another hot summer day here in Los Angeles, and I'm here to do another video for you guys, another episode on my rock channel. This is going to be about television. And you know what? I'm going to do television and Richard Hell and the Voidoids. This is going to go through 1982. That's about the time that the Blow Up came out. Or was that 83? I don't remember, but anyway, and that's also when the third Tom Verlaine album was released and the second Voidoids album came out. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm including Richard Hell in on this video because he was a founding member of television, kicked out by Verlaine for being Richard Hell, I guess. So I'm going to start with, of course, the classic Marquee Moon. This is one of New York's great albums of the late 70s. You know, CBGB's band, television had been well established since the mid 70s, 74, 75, for sure. They had some of these songs that they recorded in a demo with Eno like years before this. And I think that they were recorded again as demos before this album was made. So when this was recorded in 1976. It didn't come out until early 77, though. All these songs are great. This is a wonderful, dual guitar album. You got Tom Verlaine here on guitars. You got Richard Lloyd on guitars. That's Smith there on bass, and Fica, whatever, on Billy Fica on drums. If you've never heard this album, you're probably not even watching this video. It's not really punk. It's new wave. It's post-punk. It's art punk. It's whatever you want to call it. It sounds like the 80s, though, years before the 80s. Although most of the new wave bands in the 80s would be, synthesizer-driven rather than guitar. That's always what made, television such a cool band is Verlaine and Lloyd. While I'm on the subject of Richard Lloyd, he has a good album too called Alchemy in 1979. I don't have that, otherwise I'd probably showed it to you. It's not bad though. I don't think it's as good as the Tom Verlaine albums that came out in the late 70s, but it's certainly worth your time. And if you're looking to, look into solo television beyond Tom Verlaine, yeah, check out Richard Lloyd's album, Alchemy. But anyways, Marquee Moon, whatever you call this, punk, post-punk, new wave. It's one of the great albums in that genre of that time. I guess, really quickly. See No Evil, classic. Venus, classic. Friction's great. Marquee Moon, that's another freaking classic. Elevation, Guiding Light, Prove It, and Torn Curtain are not as essential to these years, but they're all good. I mean, there's not a bad track on this album. And I'm glad I looked at the back of this because it includes Little Johnny Jewel, Parts 1 and 2. That was a 45 that they released in 1975. It's great. It's one of my favorite television songs. And, to hear it on CD, you don't need to flip over the vinyl 45. You hear it all as one track. So, Marquee Moon, the finest television album, the finest thing that Tom Verlaine or Richard Lloyd have had anything to do with. But still pretty good is their next album, Adventure, 1978. This is another one of these little Rhino or Electra CDs with the cardboard, covers, the same as Marquee Moon. No, this is not as good, but it's still a fine follow-up. Glory, Days, Foxhole, that was their single. That's a bit repetitious. Carried Away, The Fire, Ain't That Nothing, and The Dream's Dream. That's an outstanding song. And then for the bonus tracks, the song Adventure, which the album took its name from, but that song was not on the album. That's one of television's best songs. I don't know why they didn't include that song on here, but it's a monster. I love it. The single version of Ain't That Nothing, and then Glory, the early version. So a fine follow-up, just not as essential as Marquee Moon, but what is. Here's a live album, which didn't come out till way later, 2003. This is television live at the Old Waldorf in San Francisco, June 29th, 1978. So about the time of, Adventure. This is outstanding live television. This should have been released at the time, but of course they didn't because there's Their two albums never sold anything. Marquee Moon never even made the Billboard Top 200, for Christ's sakes. The Dreams, Dream, Venus, Foxhole, Careful Ain't That Nothing. See, a lot of stuff from the second album. Little Johnny Jewel, Friction, Marquee Moon, and then I Can't Get No Satisfaction. That's a perfect television set list. I love it. Okay. And again, the aforementioned Blow Up, which is what we had in the early 80s. This was a cassette. I don't think it was even on vinyl LP, but it's pretty cool. The Blow Up is, well, this is two discs. The Blow Up is 4 minutes. See No Evil, Prove It, Elevation, I Don't Care, Venus de Milo, Foxhole, Ain't That Nothing, Knocking on Heaven's Door. So kind of a similar set list, if you think about it, to the Live at the Old Waldorf. Disc 2, Little Johnny Jewel for almost 15 minutes. Friction, Marquee Moon, almost 15 minutes. And then Satisfaction. I guess they like doing that cover. Not as well recorded as the Live at the Old Waldorf, but again, this was out way before that. And as such, this is kind of like a classic television album now that, all is said and done. That's it. I mean, they got that together again and recorded, and Verlaine would start the band up again and tour with them off and on until his death, I think. Before I get into Tom's solo stuff, might as well get Richard Hell out of the way. So Richard Hell was a very important figure on the New York punk scene. Again, his look, the safety pins and the torn shirts and whatever, spiky hair was lifted verbatim by Malcolm McLaren when McLaren was putting together the Sex Pistols. Not only had Richard Hell been in the early version of television, he'd been in the early version of the Heartbreakers too. I mean, Blank Generation was a Heartbreaker song. If you hear the demo they recorded of that, it sounds more or less like it would later on with Voidoids. But this is the first release that I'm going to talk about here. This is Richard Hell and the Voidoids, or just Richard Hell? No, it just says Richard Hell. This was an EP that came out in 1976. This is the 3 songs on CD. They are Another World, which of course would be on the album, Blank Generation, this is the first version that was released, and You Gotta Lose. It's great, and this is my favorite version of Blank Generation. I think it's a re-recording when you get to the album the next year. This is my favorite version. All right? And of course you have the classic Blank Generation album, maybe not as seminal as Marquee Moon, but this is a very underrated, great record. I like every song on here. Just like Marquee Moon is Verlaine's magnum opus, either with television or as a solo artist, this is Richard Lloyd's, ne plus ultra. What we got in here? Love Comes in Spurts, classic. Liars Beware, New Pleasure, I love it. Betrayal Takes Two, Down at the Rock and Roll Club, classic. Who Says, Blank Generation, Walking on the Water, The Plan, and then Another World, which had been on the previous. And then you get a whole lot of bonus tracks. So this is what you want. This is the initial CD I used to have of Blank Generation had a re-recording, or not a re-recording, an alternate version of Down at the Rock and Roll Club. This is what you want. This is the that's the album that's remastered on CD. Okay, the Voidoids did not do another album until 1982. It was called Destiny Street. It's been released in various forms, various mixes. Richard was never happy with the vinyl 1982 mix. So this is the CD that I have. This two discs or two discs? Yeah. It's you get this album in various forms. The 1982 remaster. Later on, it was remixed, which I guess Richard was more happy with the sound of that. And then he found these tapes which contained some guitar parts, from the 82 sessions or 81, 82 sessions. And then he re-recorded over that with his 21st century voice, got some people to come in and play over. And that's called Destiny Street Repaired. It came out in 2009. So as you see here, You get the original version from 82. You get the remix from 2009. Oh, no, I'm sorry. You get the repaired version from 09, and then you get it remixed in 2021, plus plenty of bonus stuff. It's a good album. Again, you know, it's unfair to compare this to Blank Generation the way it's unfair to compare Adventure to Marquee Moon. But this is as good as Adventure, I think. I'm a Richard Hell, you know, fan, and it's really cool to hear all these songs over and over again in different versions, different remixes, etc. So, you know, Destiny Street, 1982. If you don't have it, this is the one to get. All right, with all the different versions. Okay, let's talk about Tom Verlaine. Verlaine had a, you know, not a lucrative in terms of money, but he had a successful solo career for a long time, especially in the 1980s when he recorded regularly. But his first, this is what I have for his first two albums. So I should have them taken out for you. This is on the BGO label, you know, from England, and they do twofers a lot. This is Tom Verlaine, which for years was my favorite Tom Verlaine album. And then Dreamtime is also on here. I don't know if I like Dreamtime better now, but I like it just as much. There's a certain hardcore Verlaine fan who always said that Dreamtime, was the better of the two, but I didn't hear it, but now I think it's just as good. But anyways, these albums sound, you know, much like television. You know, you don't have Richard Lloyd here. It's not twin guitars, but you have, you know, Tom overdubbing, and he still has that tone that he used with the band Television. Since he was the vocalist, he's singing here, so these sound television-like. I've never heard any of these songs on the radio. I like a lot of it though. I'll look at Tom Verlaine first. Grip of Love, Kingdom Come, Yankee Time is kind of filler. Flash Lightning is good. Last Night, Breaking My Heart, that's most of the album. Dreamtime, There's a Reason is okay. I like Penetration better. The Blue Robe, I like that one. Without a Word, Mr. Blur, Fragile. Now, the album I think only gets better as it goes on. Future and Noise, that's a good one. Down the Farm and Mary Marie. So, actually, in going over those titles, maybe I do like Dreamtime better. But they're both strong albums. And if you're a fan of television, you need to check the make this purchase your next one. Tom Verlaine and Dreamtime on BGO. Okay, and since this video ends with 1982, that's when Destiny Street came out. That's when Tom Verlaine's third album, Words, From the Front came out. This was considered at the time, you know, to be like a disappointment, not as good as the first two. It isn't as good, but it's not disappointing. I still like this album. I don't know when this CD came out because Collector's Choice, I think, has the version on CD that everybody talks about, but I don't have that one. I saw this, you know, picked it up once, but it's fine, you know. Postcard from Waterloo's President Arrived is good. True Story. Actually, as I go over these songs, there's not that many of them. They're all good. Cleared Away, Words from the Front, Coming Apart, Days on the Mountain. And his guitar playing is really good, as it is on all three of these records, you know. So, and his career doesn't end here. I mean, please, you know, continue with it if you're just taking my advice. But I'm just stopping this video here at 82 because that's when Destiny Street came out. So, all right, Tom Verlaine, Richard Lloyd. What a great band Television was, and Richard Hell. Richard Hell, to me, he's as important as Tom Verlaine. You may not like his music as much. He may not have ever essayed an album as good as Marquee Moon, but I think the Blank Generation comes close. These are major. When I was first getting into punk rock in the early 80s and checking out, you know, all of these proto-punk and new wave albums and the whole CBGB scene in actually Kansas City, you know, I've always had a kind of romantic fascination with New York because it's so different from the Southern California upbringing that I had. And whenever I've been to New York, I've had a blast. I've never even spent the night there. I've only taken day trips there where I go there and I come out. But It's just a wonderful place, and I love the music of New York, so that's why I've been doing New York videos lately, the Dolls and the Ramones. I have to get to Patti Smith. I have to get to Blondie, and we'll see where I want to take it after that. But if you're at all unfamiliar with the great CBGB's scene of the mid to late 70s, and you don't have these albums, Marquee Moon and Blank Generation are must-owns, as are all 4 Ramones albums, as are the 2 New York Dolls albums, So anyways, until next time, Matt signing off.